Hi everyone. Alliance War Season 39 has started a few days ago. I was planning to upload a video about my mastery setup for the season. Moreover, I wanted to break down all the available masteries in the game. And finally, this video is recorded and I really hope you'll find it helpful. I'm going to talk about each mastery, tell my opinion about their usefulness and how relevant they are in 2023. Let's go through my season setup real quick before we get deeper. In offense section, I always max out precision and cruelty. During Alliance War season, I am not using suicide masteries because if you place your defenders with suicide zone, they will become an easy target for your opponent alliance. I am using deep wounds and assassin maxed out instead. I attack with Symbiote Supreme so often during the season. Also, I have rank for Nick Fury, so deep wounds are necessary. I will talk about deep wounds and assassin in more detail during the breakdown, and now let's look at the defense section. I always have willpower maxed out. This is useful in any content in the game, coupled with recovery. I think these two are highly recommended. Also, I put a few points for my block proficiency and perfect block because nowadays defenders have so high attack rating and even parrying can be painful for your attackers. And to make our war opponents' lives more complicated, I am using stand your ground so that my defenders can sometimes block heavy attacks and punish the attacking champions. And the proficiencies section. Parry and Stopify are maxed out. This increases my parry duration. 1 point in dexterity. Limber maxed out just for the season. Again, this makes the defenders a little bit more dangerous because they will recover from parry or stun much faster. And obviously, Mystic Dispersion with 2 points for my Mystic defenders and attackers. So helpful. This setup is relevant for the season and also it can be good for most summoners for all types of content. Sometimes I turn the suicides on for some fights, but the main setup is in front of you. Now it's time to break down each mastery for summoners who want to know more and make mastery decisions by themselves. All the relevant, recommended and useless ones, let's go. The mastery strength is opening our offense section and it's not worth investing. It's useless because plus 33 attack increase is nothing. Average 6-star rank 3 champion has about 3k attack, so investing 9 mastery points from 59 available in total is just a waste. The next one is Greater Strength. Also not the best one, but with 9 points invested you will have plus 8% attack, which is still a small increase. But on the other hand, for smaller accounts, this can be a good option. It's really cheap, you will need a few hundreds of gold to max this out and you can invest your points into it before you are able to get access to some other more expensive and more useful masteries at the beginning of your journey in the game. The next mastery is Courage, which is a really interesting one. Even though I'm not using it currently, it still deserves your attention. If you often rely on revives, so your health bar is below 50% during the fights, this can grant you 10, 15 or 20% of extra attack, which is a decent amount. Or if your main attacking champion is Nick Fury with his Furious mode with 30% health, this can make your attacks even more dangerous. This mastery is also a cheap one, so you can activate it when you need. Let's continue our offense line with Pierce Mastery. This one was never worth investing and now it's even more useless. It helps you to ignore more armor and resistance with your critical hits, but as we all know, critical hits ignore all that even without this mastery. So you just want to spend 1 mastery point for Pierce to be able to go ahead. Next one is Lesser Precision. This is not a bad one, but we need to understand that the next mastery of this path, which is Precision, is much better, and that's why I highly recommend investing 5 points into Precision and only 1 into Lesser Precision. We are receiving here more than 400 critical rating, which is almost doubling your average champion's critical rating, so this is a good one to invest. It will cost you a good amount of units, but it's worth it. The same situation with the lesser cruelty. We need to compare it with cruelty mastery, which is also granting all your champions extra 400 critical damage rating and almost doubling your champion's critical damage. I think every summoner should have precision and cruelty maxed out in 2023. Let's talk about extended fury mastery too. This is also one of the useless masteries in the game. It will help you increase your champion's fury buff duration, but I think the increase is not significant enough to invest points into this. The next one is also a bad one because you have to invest 4 mastery points to gain plus 8% fury potency, which is not a lot. You can try those masteries if you rely on some cosmic champions with fury buffs, but I'm not recommending to do so. Then we are approaching to our big attacking decision part. The question is to play with or without suicide masteries. So for suicide masteries you have to invest at least 1 point into glass cannon. You can also max this mastery out if you are ready to sacrifice 7.2% health for 7.2% attack. My vision of the game is that first of all summoners need to max out their attack and rely on high damage champions, and extra 7.2% attack would be much more helpful than 7.2% of health. Even if you are not going to run suicide masteries, you can max the glass cannon out. The next one is recoil, and this mastery is necessary for suicides, but you should never max this out. You need just 1 point here because you will lose from 5 to 10% health for each special attack used, so this is the price for suicide masteries, which is increasing your attack dramatically. So we are investing just 1 point into recoil and losing the minimum amount of 5% health for our special attacks. Believe me, suicide mastery deserves your attention. Let's look at the next two masteries, which are the main source of damage while running suicide masteries. Liquid Courage, we need to max this out for plus 30% attack. We are going to suffer from poison from the beginning of each fight, but we have the willpower mastery to counter this damage, or you can use some immune champions. Also we need to max out Double Edge, which will grant you 30% more attack, but will inflict a bleed debuff with a timer. This damage is also being reduced with willpower mastery, and of course immune champions are going to benefit the most. Liquid Courage and Double Edge are useful if they are active both, so keep that in mind. Suicide masteries will make your fight shorter, and especially in arena this can save you a lot of time. For those who don't want to lose damage from recoil or poison or bleed, we have this second option, but I have to mention that both suicide section and this section are so expensive but also extremely useful. You will need 4 or 5,000 units to unlock these masteries, so you need to choose. Either you want masteries that will help you but will cost you, or you have to suffer without good offensive masteries. I personally recommend you not to spend units before you're done with your masteries. This is very important for competitive endgame players. Now let's look at this pair. This mastery helps you to reduce your opponent's regeneration for each debuff applied on them. If you have to heal block or at least reduce the amount of health regenerated with a champion without heal block ability, but with a lot of debuffs, this can be a good option. The next mastery is Unfazed. If your opponent passively evades from a hit, your attacker receives a short unstoppable buff. This used to be useful for Alliance War defense a few years ago, but now it can hardly be worth investing. This is also not a cheap mastery, so I recommend not to spend any units for this one. The other mastery that deserves your attention is Deep Wounds. If you rely on bleed damage attackers, you will enjoy this mastery. Maxed out, it gives all your bleed debuffs extra 2.5 seconds of duration, which can increase the damage output of Nick Fury, Symbiote Supreme, Agent Venom or other bleed champions significantly. Deep Wounds was a more powerful mastery a few years ago, but now we have a lot of good champions without bleed, so if you are not using bleed attackers, you can invest your points in the next mastery named Assassin and give just 1 point to Deep Wounds just to make Assassin available. Assassin and Deep Wounds are not 100% necessary. They are expensive, but if you're not using Suicide Masteries, these are only reliable options you can invest in. For example, Assassin can be useful against some tough bosses with a lot of health, where that plus 60% attack bonus can save your time and resources. Also, in Alliance War defense, your defenders will start blocking the opponent's attacking abilities below 18% health and make more problems. The offense part is almost over. Here we also have some class masteries. Let's talk about them real quick. The skill mastery named Pure Skill is 100% useless. We already know that critical hits ignore almost all the armor and resistance. These masteries are so expensive and just a waste of resources. The same situation for Mutant Class Mastery. This will reduce bleed debuff duration on your mutant champions, which has no use cases, and we should ignore this mastery as of now. Now we can go ahead and look at the defense section. We are starting with the Vitality Mastery. It offers us less than 200 health points for 9 mastery points, which is just ridiculous. For example, average rank 3 6-star champion has more than 30k health, so this mastery is outdated. It could be useful in 2015, but now we have to ignore it and go ahead. Next one is the Greater Vitality, and my recommendation is to maximize your attack in 2023 and never invest those valuable mastery points to receive extra health points. Next one is the Salve Mastery, which will regenerate a very small amount of health. This means you don't need to invest more than 1 point into it. And that 1 point is needed to get access to the Recovery Mastery, which is coming next. With 3 points into this mastery, we are receiving plus 15% to all regenerated health from all the sources. This is going to benefit from willpower and regen abilities of all your champions. So this is a recommended mastery for everyone. Next section is dedicated to energy and physical resistance. The amount of these resistances is not significant and won't be a game changer for you, so you can ignore those masteries while choosing your setup. Next is the block section. Block proficiency is maxed out on my account, and I find this section really useful. Nowadays, the opponents we are facing in the contest are hitting so painfully, and being able to block that powerful attacks is very important. There are some difficult special attacks that are almost impossible to evade, and a good block proficiency is necessary. This mastery is almost doubling your champion's base block proficiency, and the perfect block is going to grant a small chance to receive no damage while blocking any attack. Deserves your attention. The third mastery of this group is Stand Your Ground, and it can save your attacker's life with blocking the opponent's heavy attack. Obviously you don't want to rely on it, but sometimes it can help. This can also be a good defensive mastery for the Alliance War. As you could notice, I have 18 points in defense, even though I keep recommending to maximize your attack. The reason for that is the Willpower Mastery. This is one of the most useful masteries in the game, and you need at least 15 points in defense to get access to Willpower. It is a critical necessity while running suicides, and also it can heal you a significant amount of health while having non-damaging debuffs on you. Once you try this mastery, you would want to have it active all the time, so it's 100% worth investing. This is also not a cheap mastery, but it's worth it. I would like to mention the Coagulate mastery as well. I used to like this one a few years ago when my main attacking champion was Omega Red with Suicide Masteries. He was benefiting from Coagulate a lot. Also, it can help while using non-immune champions while running suicide, so that your champions don't suffer from bleed damage caused by double edge mastery. Anyway, this is also an expensive mastery, so I am not recommending it if you don't have a significant reason to use it. Suitor mastery is the next, and it also can bring almost the same benefits that the coagulate. While coagulate reduces bleed damage, suitor reduces bleed duration. This is also an expensive one, and I am not recommending this one either. But in case you are so in love with suicide masteries and want to use non-immune champions with suicides, maxing these two out can minimize the bleed damage from double edge, and the only damage your champions will be receiving from the suicides will remain the 5% from recoil for each special attack used. Then we are going to look at the inequity mastery. This is one of the worst masteries in terms of cost benefit. It's an expensive one, and maximum 36% reduction of opponent's attack isn't worth it to invest in units and mastery points. Also, you need to apply debuffs for this mastery to work, so it makes things even more complicated, and I am not recommending this. The same thoughts about the next one, which is resonance. It's also very expensive. For example, for level 1, you will need 1100 units just to unlock it. And the utility is so low that you should avoid such costs if you want to develop your account. Here we also have class mastery for tech and science champions. I'm playing this game since 2015, and starting from the day that Kabam released masteries, I never met a single person to use those masteries. They are expensive and so outdated. I think Kabam should do something with this mastery section because it hasn't changed during the last 5 or 6 years. Also, we have these coming soon sections. It says that new powerful mastery is going to be added shortly, but I could see this promise for 5 years already. The third section is Proficiencies. This is the smallest section, so let's start from the Wisdom Mastery. This can be useful for smaller accounts and for summoners who want to achieve level 60 as soon as possible. At the beginning of your journey, you can activate Wisdom. It will cost you some gold, but as your account develops, you will realize the value of mastery points and will remove this mastery and spend the points to increase your offense or defense instead. The second one, Intelligence, will cost you units, so the Wisdom is more preferable in my opinion. Also, we have 2 gold masteries here, but they are expensive and the utility they can bring is not so significant. Now we can look at the main proficiency masteries. The first one, and one of the most important, is parry. You should master parrying as soon as possible if you want to succeed in the game, and you should max this mastery out to reduce the block damage while parrying and to increase the duration of stun after you successfully perform the parry. We also need to max out the Stupefy mastery for an additional half a second stun duration. This is important to have more time to make your next decision after you've stunned your opponent. In some tough fights, you will really need that time, so I highly recommend to max this out as well. Limber Mastery is also a good and cheap one. For new players, it can be useful to help them recover from stun debuffs faster, but more advanced players are maxing this out just for defensive purposes. This mastery just makes my defenders more dangerous, and that's all. The next one is Dexterity, and also one of the most important masteries that any summoner should have. It helps you avoid regular and special attacks. You don't need to max it out, just 1 point is more than enough. After evading the attacks, you will also gain a small precision buff, but that's not a big deal, so the main utility here is the evade. Just 1 point and we're fine. Next one is Petrify. It will help you to reduce your opponent's regeneration while they are stunned, but this is not so reliable tool for heal blocking, so I don't recommend investing your resources into it. But what I do recommend is paying your attention to the next mastery, which is Pacify. A really interesting thing. It allows you to reduce opponents' ability accuracy while having them stunned, and you can benefit from this mastery if you need to block some tough abilities but you don't have reliable ability blocking champions. With 3 points you can reduce the abilities for 30%, which is not a lot, but in right hands and in the right situation, this can save you a lot of units. Also, I want to mention that maxing this out will not cost you a lot, so I want you to know about this mastery and use it when you need. Here we also have this Cosmic Awareness mastery. As the rest of class masteries, this one is also not useful at all. You will not even feel any difference while playing with or without this mastery, so I hope you'll never spend anything for unlocking this. But here we also have the only useful class mastery, which is Mystic Dispersion. It's a powerful weapon for all Mystic Champion users. Mystic Champions will get power for each opponent's buff nullified or expired, and this can become a real game changer for almost all Mystics. So if you are using a lot of Mystic Champions like I do, you should invest some points into this mastery. In competitive alliances, all alliance or Mystic defenders are being placed with maxed out Mystic Dispersion, but for attacking purposes 5 points is too much. I recommend unlocking 2 or 3 points because with 4 or 5 points you will overgain power and lose the control of the fight. 3 points is the most balanced decision in my opinion. Use it if you want to feel the real potential of your Mystic champions. Then I want to go ahead and tell you about one more group of masteries. And talking about this Counter Lens group, which is also a useless and outdated section. But I also want you to know the reason of having it in the game. A few years ago there was a path in Alliance War map where the defenders were hit. And this mastery was helping players to see who are they going to fight against. But in 2023 we have no use cases for this section and you should not invest any resources to unlock any of these. That's it for this long video. I hope you watched it till the end and found it useful. If you enjoyed this mastery breakdown video, please support my channel with your thumbs up because I made a huge effort to make this video. Don't forget to subscribe and send this video to your friends who are new in the game. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the battle realm.